everybody, and welcome to the Jackson Reaction Podcast. I'm Gene Jackson, along with
the real Rosey J, Rose Jackson.
That's right. So here we are once again on a Saturday afternoon. We didn't do one last week because we were en route to Corinth, Mississippi, to the Crossroads Arena for the big wrestling event last week. But now we're back, and Miss Rosey has some stuff in mind for us today. But before we get to that, I just wanted to comment that we have lived in Coleman since 2016, and just now today, for the first time, made our way out to the Dutch Oven Bakery. And oh my God, where has this place been for the last 5 years?
Hey, we seen it on the side of the road, like driving by it how many times going to the Muscle Shoals and Moulton, and I'm like, that place has got good Amish goods, and we're like, oh, we'll go one day, and we just never did. So.
We didn't. There's Tommy Todd checking in. Tommy, how you doing, buddy? I'm sure you've been out there a few times. Good stuff out there. We come out of there with about $30 worth of stuff, but it was all reasonably priced and awesome. There's hello, Smokey. What's up?
I'm glad you got the cats with you.
Tommy says, "Dang right," so he knows what's up. So
Yep.
Well, all right. Well. So this week, last time we talked about our favorite British television comedies. And this week we have decided that our subject matter is going to be stuck in the 90s, because that's kind of what we've been in recent times.
I'm going to say it is hopelessly stuck in the 90s because, I for one, I love 90s, 80s. I guess the older we get, it's the more that I go back to the times of old time. It's like we're old people now, and I don't know.
Yeah, feeling that more and more. Yeah, see, Matthew Glover says it's legit. So we were just late to the party, apparently, as usual, as we tend to do on TV shows, movies, everything. We get there 2 to 3 to 4 years late. IT crowd, we got there about 10 years late, whatever it was. So. But anyway, good stuff. Highly recommend it. Free plug. But tell us all about what we're talking about today.
Well, I mean, it's like, why do we love it so much? Why are we drawn back to the 90s? I mean, what about it makes us go back to it all the time? It's like the TV shows, to me, at that time, yes, as cheesy as they may have been and as cheesy as they are now compared to some of the shows we have, I don't know. It's just, there's some really good, well-written shows that I enjoyed in the 90s. You got Twin Peaks, X-Files. You had legit MTV back then, which is, something that kids now don't have the pleasure of knowing at all.
That's true. I mean, I've, especially during the course of this pandemic and you working down in Gadsden 4 days a week and all that, most of what I've watched have been 90s and a lot of 80s stuff as well, but a lot of 90s TV series. Like, I've gone back and watched a lot of Seinfeld and Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens, Whose Line Is It Anyway, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The majority of my time has been spent watching stuff. I don't know. I'm just feeling extra nostalgic. I don't know if it's because it's better, but and then collectively, especially during like our horror-a-thon that we did, that was. See, Matthew says a lot of these shows were cutting edge for the time, even if it doesn't translate well today.
Well, I mean, to a lot of people, it doesn't translate well because you've got a lot of people that they want the more of the. I don't know how to put this. I guess more of what we seen in, say, The Stand that was redone for CBS. You had more sex, you had more cussing, you had more just out there, just nothing's left to the imagination. And back in the 90s, you had shows, yes, they had sex, they had a little cussing to them, but it was like you had to use a little mystery. You had to kind of think, and you had to imagine, these shows like Twin Peaks. This show would come on once a week, and if you didn't watch it every single week, you'd get lost. You didn't have streaming services. You didn't have DVD.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this privately, but that's the thing that like the younger generation may not necessarily understand is there was no such thing as binge watching in the 90s. You didn't go like, oh, I like Twin Peaks and watch an entire season in a day or two,
like I did yesterday.
Yeah, like you did yesterday while I was working. Like you had to tune in every Thursday night at 7 or whatever the case may be. And if you had to work late one night or, got tied up and you missed a week, well, now you're out of the loop. And so now you either carry on watching kind of Lost or you wait till the summer reruns come. And then in the summertime, you can catch back up where you left off. So it was very different back then. And, I know a lot of times, we make it sound like, everything was better then and things suck now. And yeah, see, Matthew knows what's up on that. And,
that's right, because, it was. I mean, you had to either watch it as it came out or you had to pray that you set the VCR right.
Well, yeah, because it's like this Twin Peaks you're watching. Like, you miss an episode, like the tail end of that one episode, the guy gets shot. If you'd missed that episode, you'd have been like, okay, who shot him? What's going on? Who's the guy with no arm? Who's the woman that carries a log around like a baby? Like all this shit, it's.
Sorry, my allergies are killing me.
No, that's fine. That's understandable. Everybody's feeling that right about now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a combination of. For us, because I know like a lot of younger people go back and watch that stuff and they're like, I don't get it. I don't think it's that good. I like this newer show better, whether it's TV, movies, music, or wrestling, or whatever the case may be. So I know a lot of it's just simply nostalgia. It brings back, memories and good feelings of, when we were all younger. But some of the stuff I do believe was better. Let's see what Tommy Todd says. Melrose Place was tame compared to today's shows. 90210 the same. USA After Dark was the naughty shows in the 90s, and they are tame.
Yes,
absolutely.
I used to watch the USA After Dark, Up All Night with Rhonda Shear, Gilbert Gottfried. That's how I found out Joe Bob Briggs, Monster Vision. The 90s was, a great time for TV, but yes, it was very tame compared to what you have in the time now. But then it was super. Oh my God, we got to show it 10 o'clock where nobody can see this. No kids.
Yeah, what was risque back then that you had to stay up till midnight to watch? I mean, they show worse than that in prime time network television now. Like
they do.
We don't have kids, and I'm not a stick in the mud or anything, but like some of the language you hear, like. Oh, we're saying that on network TV now? Like, really?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how could you sit down as a family and watch anything on TV, really?
Well,
even the cartoons have stuff in them that the kids may not get, but as an adult, you're like, did they really just say that? Like, what the hell's going on?
Oh, yeah. That's like I said, I hate to go back and rip on the stand for this, but like, that's a CBS app. I get it's streaming service. And I get that, okay, maybe most parents would go, okay, strong language, whatever. It's rated, I think it was rated R. Was that the rating that come up, or the strong language, cussing, whatever? That's putting it mildly. To me, that was a show that I could well see on HBO or Cinemax.
Oh, absolutely. Short of just straight up complete nudity. They had everything else. So let me ask you this: while we're on that subject, where do you stand on? Because a lot of people hated the new one. Some people loved it, but a lot of people tore it apart. So which one did you like better?
I like both. I like both, but that's because I am a devout old school Stephen King fan. The old stand I like simply because, back then it would come on TV as a miniseries. So you got to watch it in a 2-week span? I think it was like it ran for 2 weeks. Yeah. And I liked Stu Redmond's part being played by Gary Sinise. Yeah. I liked him better as Stu Redmond. But I like the new one. I like the way that they made Randall Flagg. I think he was super cheesy in the 90s one. I hated him as the guy that played him in the original. I just didn't think he had the charisma that
it took you out of it. Just the whole time this guy's walking and talking, you're like, this guy is the devil. Like, really, this is the main heel of the show. And of course, that's what sticks with me. What Matthew just said, MOON. I did like Dauber from Coach slash
Yes.
his name from SpongeBob being that guy in the original. But the guy in the new one wasn't bad either.
I thought he was really good.
He did the part really well. But yeah, that was my main takeaway from the first one was MOON. But I'm like you as far as if you could take the old one and the new one and pick it apart and piece it together, I think you'd have the perfect one.
Yeah.
God, I'm trying to think of what his real. I'm sure you know his real name. The guy that played Randall Flagg in this one, Skarsgård.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Alexander. I was thinking he was the one from It, but that's his brother, right?
No, it's his brother.
He made a much better Randall Flagg. I didn't like him for the same reasons you did, but I thought he was much more convincing, and I could see him, being able to manipulate people. And here's the other reference to Marshall's dad. If you're a fan of How I Met Your Mother, that's the other place you know him from. But I could see how you could believe that he's able to manipulate and do the things that Randall Flagg did. Where that first goof, in the first movie, it just, I don't know. I stopped taking it. Once he came on board, it was kind of hard to take it serious from that point on. But like I said, there's some characters I liked better in the original, some I liked better in the new one. You'd have to, chop it up and put it together. But I didn't hate the new one. I didn't think there was any reason for people to shred it the way they did in a lot of the reviews that I read. And it was very timely, like with what we're going through right now.
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely.
A bizarre time for that. And it was already in the works because we were watching the original, and I was just, as I do when we watch stuff, I start looking it up on IMDb to find out odd facts about it. And I was like, hey, look, they're making a new one. And I go, oh, look who's going to be Randall Flagg. And so we kind of made a mental note of, hey, when this comes out, we want to watch, which was the only reason we got the CBS app. Was just to watch that show.
Just to watch The Stand.
But I thought it was overall it was pretty good. It was like someone else directed the flag. Exactly. And that's not to take this off in a completely different direction and make it a Stephen King episode, but the same can be said for It.
Oh yeah.
The original It miniseries to me was great until you got to the end, and then it was like. It's just like Matthew said. It's like somebody else just took it over and just, it was like, hey, nobody's looking. Let's film the shittiest, dumbass ending we could ever imagine right now, and make me hate myself for spending all those hours watching it up to then. But anyway, this isn't about The Stand. I didn't mean to take it off in that direction. I just thought it'd be interesting real quick because me and you never really just talked about, hey, which one would we like better or what. I kind of felt like that's how you felt, because there's good aspects about both, but again, just really creepy that it came out when it did. But the point I was making was, as far as talking about looking it up, obviously this was all in the works being made long before this pandemic, shit happened, but just a very odd time to release it, and watching it felt much creepier than it would have just watching it in normal circumstances. But moving on.
This is true. Well, of the 90s, I always think more fondly towards 94. 1994, I feel like, was my best year, my most memorable year of the 90s. And, the infamous 94 picture of me at City Stages in Birmingham when that was a thing. I used to go to every single music festival that existed in the 90s in Alabama. That's something that's, in music, oh my God, some of the greatest albums. 94, Soundgarden, 9 Inch Nails, Further Down the Spiral. I actually, I so can picture me in 94 with this 9 Inch Nails, Further Down the Spiral shirt. My nails, metallic blue. My hair is dyed like a red color. I was very into alternative music at the time. And that's also the year that you come out with the Unplugged, Nirvana Unplugged is like one of my favorite albums. I've got to go back and Live in the X Lounge. Yeah, exactly. The 107, the X was like the best station ever. And we had better band shirts back then too. That's true. We did. I still, I catch myself going back to these albums, like they're like my thing, like driving, back and forth from Gadsden to here every week. I pick an album every single week. And lately it's been, 9 Inch Nails, or I've been going back to Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, just different ones. It's nice to see that you see a little bit of that in today's music, especially like the new synth wave, synth pop stuff. Like I'm really into like Time Cop 83, Mitch Murder, Gunship, some of those. I know you don't care about any of those, but I dig that real mellow 80s, 90s wave beat. It's very relaxing. I can write and think so clear listening to that stuff. I love it.
So we'll come back to music real quick, but Tommy Todd has an interesting question here that you're much more suited to answer than I am.
Okay.
So he says, from the 90s, Highlander movie versus the USA show, who was
the best Duncan? Oh, TV show. TV show. Yeah. He was the best Duncan overall, but the movie is fantastic.
That's right. Just want to point out here that this is
and
25 overall in the Jackson Reaction podcast. So there's 24 more of these if you want to go back and check them out in the archives at the anchor.fm Jackson Reaction Pod, which we will be sharing on our Facebooks later if you want to go back and listen to us ramble about other topics besides this. But getting back to the 90s music here for a minute, we mentioned Time Cop there, and of course one of my favorites, the Nirvana Unplugged in New York album. I have often said, even though I'm not the world's biggest Nirvana fan, we always have the classic question of, if you were stranded on a desert island, you could only take, 3 albums or whatever. I've always said Nirvana Unplugged would be in that collection of albums I would want to have, which I know is odd because, like I said, they're not. If you ever ask me my top 5 favorite bands, Nirvana's never in them. But I love that album. There's something about it.
Yeah, that one, 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine, and that third one would be hard for me.
Matthew Glover agrees. That was a great album. So.
Yeah. The third album that I could take to my desert island would be, I'm going to have to come back on that. I know definitely 2. It'd have to be the 9 Inch Nails and the Nirvana. And yes, the covers made a big difference back then, because when you went to a Sam Goody or the Record Bar or Camelot back in the day, I would pick up albums or CDs and look and go, I don't know, okay? And then I'd flip it over and go, well, I might know that one song, but the album cover looked like crap. I wasn't buying it. That's how I ended up with the first Train album. Was I seen it in the store before they were famous, and I got it, and it turns out that's the best album they ever had, which is the self-entitled Train album. But that's another 2000.
I think he was referring to the cover songs on the Nirvana album. But
the cover songs on like cover songs. Yeah, songs covered, but excellent point. Yeah, their cover songs are really good. Man,
I was a fan of a lot of those. I enjoyed the Alice in Chains Unplugged, Kiss Unplugged. So I was a fan of that series in general, but Nirvana always being the favorite of the bunch. So let me look back through here at some of the others you sent me. We got Green Day.
Oh yeah, we rocked this one on the way home today from Muscle Shoals. So
exactly.
Yeah, I was a huge Green Day fan back in the day.
What about Soundgarden?
Yes, Soundgarden.
There we go. And
my 9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails.
That's one of the main 90s bands I have on every CD of theirs, every album.
You saw them. Did you see them live?
Yes, I did. Yeah. 2006 in Birmingham. Yeah.
And that could be a podcast unto itself that we may do one day, just talking about all the concerts you've been to, which I got to see a lot. Being a stagehand at the Coliseum in Tupelo back in the day, I saw a lot and got paid for it in the process, which was pretty sweet. But and went and saw quite a few too. But yeah, you've seen a lot. So at some point in the future, that may just be a whole episode of concerts we've seen and concerts we would have liked to have seen and concerts we'll never see for one reason or another. So moving on. So we've got, this is one of the pictures you sent me. Pulp Fiction. What do you have to say about Pulp Fiction?
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite movies from '94. Like, I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan, especially his older stuff like Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. I love all Quentin stuff, and Pulp Fiction's probably like top 5 movies.
And so I wasn't a big Tarantino fan when we met. Wasn't a big fan of Pulp Fiction. I liked some of the dialogue in it, but overall as a movie, I didn't dig the whole out of sequence thing and all that.
Yeah.
You introduced me to some other ones. I liked Reservoir Dogs a lot. My my favorite Tarantino movie, which is always shocks people when I say this, is Death Proof. Like that's like my favorite one. Stuntman Mike.
Stuntman Mike.
It's funny, and it's just the ending is so abrupt, and after him being such an arrogant piece of shit through the whole thing, just to see him, have his ass
kicked. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Sniveling idiot, but yeah, I like that one. Of course, Django Unchained was a good one, and so yeah. I've come to like his stuff more over the years. But yeah, when we first met, and you mentioned Pulp Fiction, I'm like, I hate Pulp Fiction. That movie sucks, and you're like,
yeah, I gotta admit, I
thought that was gonna be the end of the line right there.
That might be a deal breaker, and it might have, I might have questioned it just a little bit, and been like, I don't know about this. Yeah.
Well, we overcame it.
Well, and the fact that another 90s greatness that you don't like that I love is the State.
Well, I see you get an overwhelming response to your Facebook post about it. One person, but nobody liked it. Nobody is nothing.
Nobody liked it. Nobody hated it. But hey,
I mean, shits.
Hey, no, it is not. Okay. Anyway, I just. There's so many Friday and Saturday nights I spent at home watching MTV. You had Liquid Television. You had the Beavis and Butthead, which me and you went on a tear a couple of weekends ago, finding them on YouTube with the actual music videos in them, which I love. I absolutely love that.
The cartoons and stuff were funny, but to me, like some of their best stuff was in those videos. I understand why they can't release them on DVD and all that, but it's cool that people have uploaded them to YouTube so you can watch them, especially now because even if they legally could show the videos, they would cut so much of the dialogue that they said. There's just so much stuff they said that you can't say now. They would get canceled or whatever. But so I mean, such funny stuff, and it was really. Wild at the time because, you had, it wasn't like they were doing stuff at the time that all of it was 15, 20 years old. I mean, there was recent stuff that Mike Judge is just, ripping apart basically, making fun of it as Beavis and Butthead. And, of course, there's a lot of great stories from over the years where, come on, Roxy, don't do it.
Don't do it.
There's the Roxy high spot she always has to go for, put her butthole directly in the camera. But anyway, so I mean, but I know there's been some fun stories over the years of Mike Judge, like coming across people like Winger and Kip Winger and people like that
being picked off about his
who he had ripped in those videos pretty good,
We know it's said that he considered that Mike Judge and Beavis and Butthead was the downfall of Winger. Well, get her off the table.
Okay, I'm trying.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway.
Well, I mean, I would have known who Winger was if he hadn't been on Stewart's T-shirt. Like he wasn't in my wheelhouse of music that I listened to or gave a shit about. So,
well, I knew who he was before then. I just thought it was humorous. Some dude actually had a Winger shirt, but he said they air on MTV too. Not sure if it's edited. I'm sure they are.
What I've seen is heavily edited. They've got some of the videos on there, but not the majority of them, and a lot of it's cut up as far as what airs, as far as what they said and stuff like that. But better than nothing. But like I say, you can tell a lot of the stuff on YouTube's been uploaded straight from like the VHS from back in the day. So
which I have some
all high
copies
quality, but I mean they're good enough to get the
they're good enough to sit on a Saturday night and get
as we have
drunk and
we sit and watch a lot of crap on YouTube, and that's probably going to be another episode at some point where we talk about all the random bullshit we watch on YouTube on Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights. it's sad. We were telling Xander's about some of it the other day, and he's like, y'all gotta find something to do, man. Like that's not healthy. So we'll see.
Why is it not healthy? I mean, it's what we do together. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's something, because we were telling about watching the guy, deep frying food in motor oil and
well,
shit
I
like
mean,
that.
you got to think he's 20-something years old. So I guess his idea of you need to find things to do is go out and go places or whatever. But
I mean, it's not like he is either, but that's another story.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, a whole other thing with that is too, I mean, we had so much we could do in our youth, in the 20s, in our teen years.
Our 20s, not in
our
the
20s.
You make it sound like our youth was in the 1920s. We're not that old.
I feel like it sometimes, but anyway. But I mean, we had the good experiences of the movie theater, the movies that came out back then. I went to the movies all the time during the 90s and 2000s. And when's the last time me and you actually went to a movie theater?
Oh,
to see the new Halloween and
the new Halloween, the Danny McBride Halloween a couple of years back. I think it's like 2018. I say
2018,
3 years ago, I guess it was, or more.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's becoming now, and I mean, the pandemic made it happen faster than I imagined it would. But now you've got all the movies coming out to HBO Max.
Yeah. And
the streaming services. So.
And the ones that don't, good God, you want to charge you $20 to watch, some of these new movies, and it's like.
Yeah, like. I want to see that Nicolas Cage Willy's Wonderland like so bad I can't stand it, but I'm not paying $20. I'm not paying $20 for it.
Yeah, so. But we've caught a few new movies on HBO Max in the last couple of months. That Denzel Washington movie, him and Mr. Roboto or whatever that guy's name is.
The Little
Mr.
Things.
Robot, or the movie is called Little Things, but that guy is off of a show called.
It's iRobot.
Okay, if you say so.
Okay. Also, he was in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that's if you had to pick a movie to say he's more famous for. Yeah, he was in Bohemian Rhapsody playing the part of
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. I could see him, but I couldn't say his name. But so that's. We watched Thursday night, I guess it was. We watched the new documentary on Netflix, The Last Blockbuster, which is about exactly what it sounds like, the last surviving blockbuster video in the country. And we did a whole, you can look in the archives, we did a whole episode about our love of blockbuster video and then the big part that video stores played in our lives. So we won't go down that road again. But it was interesting. It had some different celebrities on there, some of which worked at Blockbuster back in the day. And what's up, Smokey? And I don't know. We had a conversation about it driving to Muscle Shoals earlier, and about how, for nostalgia reasons, it's sad, and we miss going to the video store when we were kids. But in reality, just like when we got ready to watch that, we pulled up Netflix, like we sat down, pulled up Netflix, and within 2 minutes or less, we were watching that movie. But if you go back to, back in the day, we would have had to get in the car, drive across town, go to the video store. It's brand new. It just came out. It wouldn't be there. So we'd have to go, well, shit, they don't have that. Let's walk around here for 20 minutes and find something else. Pick out 2 or 3 things. Go spend, $15-20, buy a bunch of candy and other bullshit we don't need. Drive back across town and come home, sit and watch it. Then we got to remember to take it back on time, or else it'll cost us more money. So, it's fun to have memories of going to the video store, and that was cool back in the day. But it's pretty damn cool to walk in the living room, click a couple of buttons, and watch nearly anything you want to watch for the most part. So,
and I have to admit, I wouldn't have been able to watch a whole season of Twin Peaks in one day. If I didn't have it on streaming service.
Yeah. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up for debate. But,
Well, I mean, I've always been the type to where I'm just enough nerd that I'm a nerd, but I'm smart enough to appreciate other things that are not nerd-like, but I do gravitate towards nonfiction and fantasy and sci-fi and stuff of that sort,
Yeah.
But I just I like the plots, the plots of the storylines of X-Files and, Twin Peaks and shows of that sort.
Twin Peaks to me though, like rides a fine line between an actual
absurdity
show and something like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, where it's a parody of a show. Like that music and some of the acting,
music,
you're like,
the acting.
Like, am I really supposed to be buying into this right now, or is this like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge? Yeah, this is all silly as shit. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's absurdity. I mean, and I guess that's why I like, the sketch comedies like Kids in the Hall and, The State that you don't like. So
yeah. You like those, and I like stuff that's actually funny. But that's that's cool. That's not for me to judge. I see nobody chimed in the comments to take up for you about how awesome The State is, or Kids in the Hall, or any of that garbage. So I think
that's probably because anybody that would be listening to our show would be of your opinion that they don't like it or didn't watch it.
Well,
sorry, missing out.
Certainly value their opinion if they agree with mine. So anyway, who knows? Maybe one poor soul will hear you say that or see you post on Facebook, and they might go track it down and watch it, and maybe they won't send you hate mail afterwards for. Here we go. Wait a minute. There we got Matthew says Kids in the Hall is decent.
Well, there you go. I got a decent. Yes.
It's more than I'll give it, but there you go. Whoa.
It's just like certain things that we liked when we were in our 20s or teens or whatever, and you watch it now and you either love it or you can't stand it. And I'm that way with some movies. There's movies that I absolutely loved, and I try to watch it. I'm like, oh my God, they're crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, I guess. You have to be in the mindset to appreciate or like stuff. I don't know.
Matthew says he loves Dave Foley, so there you go.
And I like Dave Foley.
I've liked him in other things. I just didn't like The State. I liked him on what was it, News Radio? He was on.
Well, he wasn't on The State,
or not The State. Kids in the fucking Hall. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. So I've liked him okay in some other things. But is there anything else from the 90s we need to touch on? We've talked about a little music. We've talked about a little TV, movies. Is there any stone unturned you would like to touch on while we're...
All of the fantastic cartoons I used to watch. Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Doug. You weren't a Nickelodeon fan like me. So.
No, because I was... My little brother watched a lot of that, but...
Yeah, I know.
I had moved on. I watched Beavis and Butthead, and then pretty much... The next cartoon I watched after Beavis and Butthead was when South Park came along. But,
oh, yeah.
So, apparently, we got this dipshit watching. I can't believe we're 30-something minutes in. I didn't think Charles Anders would make it past 10, because, the perfect podcast is 10 minutes long.
10 minutes long, yeah. Well, I can't believe Charles Anders would be interested what two old people have to say about the 90s, because he wasn't even born then. So... was non-existent during that time.
Well, see, Matthew agrees. Nick was the shit.
Yes, it was. It was my favorite. See, and Matthew agrees with me on that. All those cartoons back then, man, was the best. They were the best. I still watch a lot of them. Rocco's Modern Life. Wrong.
So apparently, Xanders was born in 1990.
I'm sorry, he was 4 years old in 94. My bad.
That's why he's such a young punk. 1990. Wow. Okay. Well, all right. Well, now that, just like my wrestling podcast, now that Xanders has brought it to a screeching halt, I guess it's time to wrap it up. We've covered everything, and then of course Sanders comes and just shuts it the fuck down like he does. So
Always.
Thanks everybody for watching. Like I said, we'll be we'll be back hopefully next week. And wait a minute, there's Matthew says in the live stuff, "Are you afraid of dark?" All that.
Hey, and the "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" The remake that they've made on CBS is pretty good. Which they hadn't put the new series up yet. I think it's coming in April sometime, but it's pretty good. I liked it.
Sanders says, "Great shows." Shouldn't you be getting ready for VCW right now? Shouldn't you be at the mall in Gadsden getting ready to wrestle or not wrestle or whatever they call that down there these days? Seriously. Now, Scott Morgan, 90's rule. That's why Scott Morgan is my favorite member of the Violent Gentlemen.
Scott gets us. Yeah.
He has to carry Sanders in the ring like I have to carry him on the podcast.
Oh.
But if you're bored right now, as we sign off, if you're bored right now, go to Whitey Jenkins' page or Smokey the producer's page and check out that wonderful review from Bob Evans and Congo Kong about Charles Sanders' match with brain dead Kevin Ryan from back in 2018. Or no, that's Chris Kronk. What is it? His is the that right there. So yeah, stay wasted, everybody.
Yeah, stay wasted.
Hey, you brought that on yourself. You come on here and shit on our podcast. We're going to plug that to everybody to go see that wonderful, glowing review of Bob Evans talking about Charles Sanders' match from New Level Pro against the one and only Kevin Ryan. Scott Morgan says, Scott's seen it. I'm sure he knows why that's funny. So, all right, we've been wrapping it up for 5 minutes, so we're going to go. But again, thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next Saturday with something fun. I don't know what yet, but we probably got a couple of ideas from today's podcast. So that's all for now. Enjoy your Saturday night. Be safe. And go watch something from the 90s if you're bored like Charles Sanders. And instead of going and trolling people's podcasts, go do something constructive with your evening.
Hey, you might enjoy it. Might find something you didn't know you liked.
Just don't watch The State. It's the drizzling shit. Seriously.